everybody, it's Krusty Old Crow back again doing an alternative perspective on Marvel Legends series Omega Sentinel. This is a character that has two forms represented in this figure, and that I remember from way back in the 90s, iterations of her and the story that they were trying to tell with her, like late 90s, 2000s. She appeared first in X-Men Unlimited number 27, but she was part of the whole guise of the Operation Zero Tolerance, which was the anti-mutant Sentinel program that was going on in the 90s under Bastion, who we've seen in X-Men 97, and who we later reveal again in the House of X story arc, in which Karamia Shapander, also known as the Omega Sentinel, returns to the fray. This time, her Sentinel programming is taken over again, and she is going against the mutants as part of the Orcus Foundation, which is, Moira MacTaggert, Nimrod, Bastion, Phalanx, and her, basically going after those X-Men. Now, between Operation Zero Tolerance, where she was a cop in India, when she was suddenly attacked while helping somebody track down their brother, and she was forced to become an Omega Sentinel against her will. And it happened like that. Now, later in the series, Professor Xavier and Magneto free her of that, but she is basically nanite filled of Sentinel programming and shape-shifting ability. So she's got that heightened speed, reflexes, sudden transformation into an armored killing machine whose arm can transform weapons where she needs. And this is reflected in the figure and in the images that you're seeing, but that's just a general breakdown of who she is. But she was always Karamia Shapander, stuck fighting this prime Sentinel technology, these nanites that were overriding her, making her do things against her will. So when Magneto and Xavier helped her, in the end, she still had the Sentinel body, but free of that programming. She was an X-Men for a while, and she helped them throughout the years. Now, you guys can go to JLS Comics or Comics Explained to get breakdowns of key characters or story arcs and things like that from Marvel. I highly recommend it. That's kind of what I do. Or you can go to Wikipedia, which will give you a breakdown, or marveldatabase.com, and that'll probably be the more accurate one than Wikipedia, right? Nonetheless, I didn't get too deep into the dive about it, just to say that what her tie-in with the House of X saw her basically getting, as we knock over the tri-figure, the tri-sentinel build-a-fig part there, we'll just put him off to the side. It saw her in House of X towards the end, going back to the X-Men because Psylocke put a Psyblade through her head in combat, and it freed her of that programming again. She had returned. But this time she was a version of herself from another future universe where she saw the outcome of mutants and humanity, much like what Moira MacTaggert had seen. If you watch my last review, I talk a little bit about that. So she joins the X-Men again just towards the end of that to help them defeat their enemy, right? So she's a good guy again. But she has two key forms. You can see that reflected here. One with the Karamia Shapander, more human-like head, and then one with the Omega Sentinel, really going at it head, right? So I'm gonna have a look at what they provided here. Just quickly, I've already gone over what I really know about Karamia, so we'll count that as that. What they tell you on the box is, harnessing the power of enhanced sensors, flight, and nanite regeneration, the Omega Sentinel dispatches enemies with ease. That's really all they tell you about her on the back, and then the Build-A-Figure data there, which I covered already in the Moira MacTaggert video, which is Wolverine, Charles Xavier, herself, Marvel Girl, Moira MacTaggert, Magneto, and Cyclops to build that Build-A-Figure. Anyways, we'll count that as covering what we know about her. We'll have a look at all this kit, and then I'll give you some grades. So here's everything that comes in this box that you get with the Omega Sentinel from Marvel Legends House of X Tri-Sentinel Build-A-Fig line. You get her extra head, which is, like I said before, the Karamia Shapander, more humanized face. Now she still has her Sentinel mask and glowy eyes over that. You don't get a fully human head, which is a damn shame. It would have been nice to have a reflected here. And I feel like it's a cool head. Like, that hair is phenomenal. It's got these big bouncy ponytails in the back. You know, it's a very fun hairstyle. It's a fun head for the figure. Considering how uniformed and colorful that figure is, it really works. You get the extra set of arms I've got here, the hands that she has to humanize her a little bit. And of course, you get your centerpiece of the Sentinel Build-A-Fig for everything else to seat upon. But more importantly, you get Omega Sentinel's very colorful red, black, and white buck, as well as her red and white head. Look at that face. There you go. She's looking very evil there, right? So, you know, evil Omega Sentinel. Good Omega Sentinel. I don't know how that works, but you get some hand exchange weapons there. Some sort of blast cannon, which I'm not sure which of these weapons do what. But they're rated a comic as well. Same as like this one over here. Just a phenomenal little representation of what we saw in the comic. As I put pictures up to try and reflect all that. And we're going to get rid of the Sentinel as he blocks the shot anyways. We've seen enough of that. But yeah, I'm very pleased with the color schemes. The paint on this is great. It really pops. It's hard to sometimes remember, this is evil. This is a Sentinel. But it is a Sentinel. It's part of that whole Orcus organization, Operation Zero Tolerance kind of stuff. I originally had her confused with a different nanite infected prime Sentinel kind of deal that they did back then, named Ginny Mahoney. She was another one they did a whole X-Men Unlimited story about. When she got infected, she was just a student that got taken and made into a Sentinel. So at first that's who I thought they made Omega the Sentinel about, but it was another character from X-Men Unlimited, the police officer in India. So I'm glad I got that sorted out through just checking into this character, but I'm very pleased with how she looks so far. And as far as piece count goes, you know, 4 arms, 2 heads, and Sentinel figure. I feel like that's acceptable. You know, we're not getting robbed on pieces there. I never did show you the box, but there's not much to the box except, you know, that's her trademark background with her faintly seen in the back. And then the box art imagery on the back. Or back sides, everything like that. So we'll get rid of the box now. We don't need to see that anymore. And let's have a look at her in a different form. All right, so there we go. One thing is that only one of the weapons actually has a blast port, and it is the more colorful of the 2 guns, but they don't provide you any blast effects for this character, so you're going to have to scratch together what you have from other lines, perhaps, or other Marvel Legends collections do give you more than enough of these, so it shouldn't really be a problem. Still looks cool with or without them, you know, but even Valiver's has ones that I could put in there, you know, or Monster Force, whoever provides these things. I start losing track. Overall, without the blast effects of any kind, you're still getting a pretty cool weapon system. I really do like this little gun. Oh, I can't put the smoke in there, but just the way that orange pops off that gray, and it's not matching out with any other color in the buck, really kind of makes it look unique. The buck is very flexible enough, you know, it's your standard Marvel figs, nothing really encumbering it as far as that goes, but clearly her more human head is going to have less up-down articulation than, say, her full-on badass Omega Sentinel head there, right? One of the things I do not like about this figure, well, Marvel Legends figures for the most part, and it's not really Marvel Legends or even just Hasbro, it's any company who risks it, is when we have small fail points. And the fail point is the joint insert piece on the elbow. That in order to change the figure out, you constantly have to take these off at the just below the bicep. Pull them in and out. Pull them in and out. Of course, it will help you if you heat the piece a little bit with a hair dryer or a bit of warm water, like warmer, just a little less than boiling. Sure, that's fine, and it's fun. And I don't have a better solution for this at all besides making everything just handheld, right? Or clip on. But These are great features. I do like them, but I hate that fail point piece, and I have no solution for it. The reason I hate it is because after Omega Sentinel, my next review is going to be on one of my favorite X-Men, Magik. She is Colossus's sister. She is a brilliant figure with lots of good value. But unfortunately, I'm not going to end up doing much of a review on her, I don't think. She'll just be making appearances unless I can get another buck of her, because what ended up happening is that fail point was so small on her, and this is such a tiny buck. It's even smaller, much smaller than the other Marvel Legend buck. This is the same one they use for Valeria Richards, I believe. But that elbow fell apart on me when I went to go move her arms while she falls down again. There you go. So I've had to pin the elbow because that fail point piece broke. And that was even after I'd warmed the figure. This piece had just stuck a little hard. So I did a quick ad hoc repair job to just at least make it so that she could be posed on the shelf. But that fail point was something that really disappointed me. I love my Magik. Illyana Rasputin is one of my favorite mutants. Like I said, that whole Rasputin bloodline intrigues me a little bit. But yeah, I was pretty disappointed to have that break. So I bring it up as a warning. Great as those features are, even heating them sometimes isn't enough to solve what was going on. And just beware, be warned that constantly putting tension on these very thin, sturdy enough, but thin pieces of plastic in the wrong way, in the wrong direction. And it happens, right? That you need to be aware of. It's easy to lose sight of where the bend is on some of these. Right now, she would be bending it up and down because that's where the joint piece is actually facing. But, without really looking hard, a person could make the mistake and bend it in the wrong direction. And that's pretty much what had happened with my Illyana. I just gave it a slight bend in the wrong direction, and that pin was so brittle. It snapped right away, and I even heard it, and I wasn't putting that much pressure on it. But it goes to show you that these are not toys for kids. These are toys for adult collectors. Let's get her in a different pose, and we're going to start doing some grading on her. So yeah, I was a little disappointed that happened to that, but I'm glad it could serve as a good example of a warning of something I had to be careful of with this figure. Carmen Shapander, Omega Sentinel. You know what? She really does kind of remind me of an alternative universe Nebula from the Guardians of the Galaxy and all that, but it's definitely a very cool looking character. I love this look of, the red and the black and the white. Definitely makes this thing pop, the extra head feature, do like that. I don't hate these weapons at all, just that single point of fail system that goes with pulling them in and out. Although this one, they're wider pins than what was included in Illyana's elbow joint system, so I'm not overly worried about it. But there you go, guys. That is the Prime, or sorry, not the Prime, Omega Sentinel, Carmina Shapander from House of X, and part of that Tri-Sentinel Build-A-Figure wave, which was also critical to that House of X. And what we see in X-Men 97, all of this is very relevant. So let's give her the character hit percentage. I think the character hit percentage right now is, I'm going to go with another 100%. They nailed this comic accurate version of the House of X Omega Sentinel, and anywhere she's appeared in between, there hasn't been much difference from what we've seen besides a more human head. But in House of X, this is really what you saw. So again, that goes with what they did with Moira MacTaggert, making her as accurate as they did, and in that same House of X Tri-Sentinel Build-A-Figure line. So I think they've struck a lot of success there. It makes me want to go get the other figures in this line, the Charles Xavier, the Cyclops, the Magneto. I can't recall who all was in that line off the top of my head, but I'm going to try and grab as many as I can. I've already read comments of people that want the I want to try and track down Moira MacTaggert for their shelf, and I actually just got a warning about be careful about those knees. Those knees seemed over time maybe bend inward, or some come with the defect of them bending inward, but I didn't notice that on my review. But I appreciated somebody mentioning that in the comments, and you know, and I think it was even a newer subscriber. So thanks very much. Makes me appreciate that I am doing these reviews, and that people do want to have conversations about some of these figures. So please feel free to hit those comments. What do you guys think of the Omega Sentinel? Do you like one head over the other? Do you appreciate what's going on with these weapons exchanges, or are you also concerned about these pins and how quickly it can go south on a character that maybe you can't find again? Like I said, I didn't order Magik from Hasbro. I got it at a friendly local gaming store. They don't have more for me to exchange, and really it was my fault anyways. It is a fragile buck. Thankfully, this one is not as fragile, but just a common shared experience. At some point when your figure breaks and you really like it, it's gonna hurt. I'm glad that I bought the Omega Sentinel, and I'm glad she didn't break. On that play factor with everything concerned, I have to give her about a 90% too. I think they could have gone more with blast effects, perhaps other weapons, or that other head that was available to really increase it. But I also got to remember the reason I'm adding that is because what if you wanted this but not this, right? Where is the price going now? So I know it's balanced out between the wave and where the plastic allocation versus price goes, but I'm going to give it a 90%. It's worthwhile. It's a great looking figure, and it looks good on multiple shelves on different levels here. So again, bought for another reason other than just my Marvel collection, but also very interesting character. So on that question, did the Omega Sentinel's potential get met with this figure? That's a hard yes, my friends, hard yes. I would highly recommend, if you're a fan of Karamiya Shapandar, of the X-Men, House of X, or just of the Omega Sentinel, or just want a really cool, colorful figure that has whatever lore you want to make up behind it with all these different kind of accessories, you go right ahead. Track this one down. Well worth it. All right, guys, that's going to be it. Thanks for watching this episode of an alternative perspective. I guess this is number 6. We'll give you some ideas as to number 7. We're going to step away from some of the women as we do have shots of Magik before she broke, but we'll get a review or not on her some other way, some other time. But we've had quite a few females lately, so maybe it's time to do some men. And we could start with this guy, or perhaps you guys would be happier getting a review on real men. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Take care.